In the heart of medieval Europe, when nights were long and frost crept silently across stone walls, the question of warmth and safety during winter was not one of comfort. It was one of survival. The world back then was colder, darker, and slower. There was no electricity to push away the night. No heaters humming softly in the corners. The fire was life itself. And for women and children, who often carried the weight of the home, the way they slept through winter tells a quiet, powerful story of endurance, care, and human warmth. As the sun disappeared behind the hills, the village would grow dim and still. Smoke rose gently from thatched roofs, carrying with it the scent of burning oak and pine. Inside those wooden cottages, families prepared for the long night ahead. The hearth built at the center of the room was their protector. It was never allowed to die completely. Even in the dead of night, someone would stir the embers, feeding it just enough to glow until morning. This was not merely for heat. It kept wild animals away, and in some beliefs it kept evil spirits from crossing the threshold. Women were the guardians of this warmth. Before bedtime, they would wrap their children in layers of wool and linen, often hand-spun from the sheep they raised themselves. Beds were not the soft, springy havens we know today. A bed, in the medieval sense, was a wooden frame filled with straw, hay, or sometimes dried leaves. The straw was changed regularly to keep away insects and dampness, and over it lay heavy blankets woven thick to trap every ounce of warmth. In peasant homes, privacy was a rare luxury. Entire families often shared the same sleeping space, and in the bitterest cold, they would even share the same bed. Mothers kept infants close to their bodies, wrapped tightly to share body heat. This wasn't only a matter of comfort. It could mean the difference between life and death on a night when the frost painted the inside of the windows. The way they slept was also shaped by fear. Winter nights in the countryside could be dangerous. Wolves roamed near the forests, and bandits were not unheard of. Doors were barred with thick wooden beams, and children were taught to stay close to the fire. In wealthier households, stone manors and small castles, the walls themselves were freezing. The thick stone kept out invaders but trapped the cold, so women of the house would hang thick tapestries and curtains along the walls, not just for decoration, but to act as insulation. In castles, noblewomen and their children slept in chambers lined with furs, fox, deer, and even bear skins, laid beneath and above them. Servants would heat bricks by the kitchen fire and wrap them in cloth to slip beneath the blankets, an early version of the modern hot water bottle. Sometimes a trusted maid would sleep nearby, tending to the embers in a small brazier to ensure the room did not freeze before dawn. Even for the wealthy, warmth was fleeting and safety fragile. For most common folk, though, bedtime was a shared ritual. Before sleeping, the mother might tell a story of saints who protected travelers in the snow, or of spirits that punished those who left their hearth cold. These stories, half faith and half folklore, were meant to comfort the young and remind them of their place in a world ruled by nature. The rhythm of her voice mixed with the crackle of fire, and the soft breathing of those she loved. When storms came, the sound of the wind against the shutters was a haunting lullaby. The cottage would creak as snow piled against its walls. Yet inside, the warmth of shared humanity triumphed over the cold. Children slept nestled between parents or siblings, wrapped in cloaks and quilts. The smell of smoke clung to their hair and skin. If the fire dimmed too much, the mother would rise in the dark, feet bare against the cold floor, to stir it once more, because to let it die was unthinkable. In monasteries and convents, women and children found a different kind of safety. There the nights were disciplined but protected. Stone dormitories were lined with straw pallets, and monks or nuns took turns tending fires for the sick and the young. Silence ruled these nights, but even in that silence there was warmth, a sense of divine protection, of community stronger than fear. Sleep in the medieval winter was not peaceful in the modern sense. It was a negotiation between the body and the elements, between faith and fear. Yet in those hours of stillness, something deeply human unfolded. Mothers hummed lullabies passed down through generations. Women prayed softly over their children. The crackling fire cast golden light on tired faces, and despite the cold world outside, there was safety in that fragile circle of warmth. When dawn came, it was never silent. The rooster's call echoed through the frosted fields, and women rose before the sun to stoke the fire back to life. They would wrap shawls around their shoulders and check on their children, brushing frost from the edges of the blankets. The house was cold again, but the ritual continued. Heat, feed, protect, and love. That was how they survived, Not through comfort, but through care. Not through wealth, but through togetherness. The medieval winter tested every soul. Yet within those humble homes and grand castles alike, women created small sanctuaries of warmth and safety. They were the quiet architects of survival, their devotion as steady as the flame that burned through the night. And so when you imagine those ancient winters, don't picture only hardship. Picture a small cottage glowing like a lantern in the snow. Picture a mother's hand reaching to tuck her child closer. Picture the sigh of relief when the fire catches once more. Against the endless cold, their love was the greatest heat of all.